the attack when defending.
I think it's like.
Are we live? Of course I'm live. People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. I hope everyone's doing well and safe. Good morning to those of you out there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. One love to the Twitch gang. One love for everybody tuning in. One love to everyone who is following and subscribing and all of those sort of things on my Twitch page. I appreciate that. Now, Art will be here in a moment, people. He's just sorting himself out. I did send him the link late, so it is what it is, but I apologize. You lot have just got to do with me on my Jack Jones for a second, people. But until he comes, what are you lot saying, people? I'm there, Omar. Hope you're doing well and safe. Intro's always the coldest. I don't know about that, but first things first, one love to Little Nitty, one of the you lot that made this thing. That's his username. Yeah, man, he made something decent and is catchy with you lot, so we run with it, man. So yeah, man. If Xhaka starts, I'll be very disappointed. Let me know what you're feeling in relation to Xhaka. Would Xhaka start in the North London derby for you? Is it wise to start him, people? In fact, better yet, I might as well start a poll in relation to that. Oh, well, someone already started it. Hey, shout out to one of the members and moderators and whatnot. You lot on top form. Appreciate that. I don't even have to do that. One love to you lot. Big up you lot, man. You lot make it worth it. I appreciate everyone who's come over here to Twitch as well. Obviously, it's a Twitch heavy day today, man. Appreciate that. Whoever did that, come on. All good. About to go out for lunch, but we'll be listening in the car. Hey, do your thing, my guy. Do your thing. As I said, hope everyone's doing well and safe. Hope those of you that went to the Emirates saw an entertaining game of football. Everyone like myself that struggled for a link and whatnot, I hope you eventually got over the line and was able to see the game in some capacity. Now, for me, bit disappointed. Arsenal.com, I did think they would put the full game up there, but unfortunately, they've only put the highlights. So, yeah, if I just go off the highlights, people, sorry, something has dropped. Jacket is dropped. Sorry about that, folks. But as I was saying, in terms of the highlights, I can only go based off the highlights of the game. But from what I saw, it appeared to me Tavares had a very good game. Martinelli won a penalty and he could have scored another one. He was quite lively. Eddie Nketiah played the pass that led to a penalty, while also he scored as well. So he looked decent. Cedric needs to work on his corners. You know, Partey, Lokonga, Ainsley Maitland-Niles were all right. You know, there was a golfing class and largely we were untroubled. Obviously, Smith Rowe and Saka made a big difference off the bench, and those two, the two late goals obviously flatters the scoreline a bit and makes us win 3-0. But other than that, it don't look like we missed much. It don't look like we was really not in control. Probably should have scored more, should have scored sooner. And of course, I would have liked to have seen a couple more Haylen boys on the bench and whatnot. On the topic of the goals, we did score some good goals from what I saw as well. I can't lie, you know, obviously, when Smith Rose eventually pulled it in, that was a good build-up play, which led to it. Eddie Nketiah scored a lovely little flick, and, you know, the build-up to play to that was good. Obviously, Lacazette stepped up to score the penalty I'm referring to when Martinelli is brought down in the box following a pass from Eddie Nketiah, people. So, yeah, man, in relation to Arsenal versus AFC Wimbledon, as I said, I ain't watched it. I can only go off highlights and what people tell me. That's what I've got to say, man. Really? So let's say, what was that from? Let's say about, I don't even know the timestamps, but let's say 2 minutes to 11. I don't even know, truthfully, because I started the upload. You know, 3 clean sheets is nice, to be fair with you. You can, you know, they build up form. Obviously, when you rotate the side, you know, these little things can make the difference in terms of building up form and these sort of things, you know, building a winning mentality, just keeping everyone in good health and good spirits and whatnot like that, especially going into the North London derby, where to a degree, a lot of things do go out of the window. A lot of things go out the window, if I'm completely honest with you. Form being one of them in abundance. But like you said, 3 clean sheets, can't complain. It is what it is. P. Mathers said, good morning, sports fans, as he does every day. I appreciate that. Went to the game yesterday, was buzzing. Yeah, man, it looked good. So big up the fans that got there. Obviously, you know, it's nice that the club made the tickets affordable, and families and people in a day and age where, you know, COVID, people are losing jobs and whatever, they can afford to go out there and have a good time and see the players, and they saw some goals and all of these sort of things. So it's decent, man. And you know, I'm not going to be at the Emirates on Sunday, but I'd love for it to be full capacity, because we're going to need that minimum against Spurs if we're going to have any chance, in my humble opinion, people. So we'll have to see what's happening in that regards. In relation to art, I can't lie, he's scaring me, man. Oh, no, I didn't even send him the link. Why isn't the link sent? I'm shagging him. What's going on? Sorry, broski. I sent you. Link was acting. I was thinking, where's this guy? I said I didn't even press the send button. Apologies, people. I'm sabotaging people. Morning, Junior. I hope Jonathan Antonio. I hope you're doing well and safe, man. Let me know your thoughts on the games if you've got any, folks, man. If you saw any of it, again, it's very difficult because again, you know, it was very difficult for us to watch the game, let alone talk about it. But yeah, man, that's all I've got to say on it. You know, obviously, I'm gonna speak about it more so on at 12:30. I'm going back on YouTube, but yeah, with that being said, I hope that puts Eddie Nketiah personally into the shop window, folks. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. In terms of my next live stream, which is 12:30, I know it's a very heavy Twitch-centric day, but yeah, man, you know, I can't leave the YouTube crew hanging. And just you know, you lot can check the schedule yourself, but just so you lot can see, let me refresh this page, people. Obviously, again, there's hella content, and it's a very Twitch centric day today. Obviously, I've got an all-star guest. Art is gonna be here in a second. You know, you've got him now. Obviously, you've got Tapping Tobes at 6:30, 5 p.m. I've got Mo. Saturday, I've got Fuad. Friday, I will have someone tomorrow, so stay pending on that one, folks. But yeah, Club of Arsenal side should be broadcasting games. Facts. Euro leagues are madness last night. So yeah, man, make sure you're all there. But I think he's finally here, man. Can you hear me? You good?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You good? What you saying, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm just in one of the rooms in the office. So
Oh, it's not a
hopefully
big
there's
time
no
thing today. It's not quite the Emirates Arsenal box seat or anything like that. Courtesy the Athletic. Big timer,
no,
man.
I'm just in one of our soundproof rooms. So hopefully there's no echoes on my voice or
Nah,
anything.
you're good, man. You're good. You look like you're being held captive, but you're good, man. What you saying anyways, man? Let's jump straight into it. Of course, big up Art every time, man. If you don't know, get to know. He's about to call you an artist. He's a journalist that works for the Athletic. He makes some good pieces and stuff like that. You know, he rubs shoulders with the elite, with the Ornsteins and all these guys. I appreciate him for giving us common folk the time of day, but he's a big timer. So make sure you're supporting him. Even in his spare time, he has time to stream Harry Potter and Football Manager and the rest of it. So yeah, man. Thanks for giving a commoner like me your time, my guy.
I'm still a commoner. You can hear it in my voice. I'm still like I don't see myself as someone like that you're describing me as, but
I had to do it to you,
but thanks for having me, and
thanks for
glad
coming,
to
man.
be on.
Minor, bro. It's always a lot. I love to have one. Obviously, you're someone I consider a friend, so it's just lovely to have a chat. And obviously, on a serious note, it's lovely to see you pushing the barriers and developing even more and more at the Athletic. You get better with every article. You know, obviously, you're the man for it. You know, you're doing the youngsters, you're doing the tactical reviews, you're doing the common things. Like I can't lie, I hate to read the Athletics articles, but when I see your name, then I'm like, all right, cool. Let me support my guy and whatnot. So it is what it is, man. Obviously, like my Nightbot has said, be sure to follow him on Twitch as well. Again, I don't know when he's next going live, but make sure you follow him on Twitch and them things there, and follow his Instas and Twitters and the rest of his handles, man. Make sure. But yeah, man, let's jump straight into it. Before I get into last night, let's go all the way back to Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday.
Yeah.
What are you feeling about in relation to Burnley, man? Where you at then? Because obviously, you know, it was a good result for us. Fantastic free kick, you know, fantastic in the middle between Partey and Odegaard. You know, Gabriel reminds people he's the best centre half at this club. Decent stuff, man. What's your thoughts about the 1-0 victory against Burnley?
Yeah, in terms of the lineup, I was quite encouraged when I saw it. It was quite a long day, so I didn't get to the stadium until just after the lineups came out.
Fair. Why was that?
Yeah, train delays, man. London Bridge.
Fair.
So I left my house at 7:20 and didn't get to Turf Moor till 2:10 because of train delays.
How long's the train meant to be? Just for people that might be foreign fans, don't really understand the journey and them things there. Detail it a bit for us.
It probably should have been 4 hours, but another couple hours got added onto it. Luckily, the journey back was a bit smoother. But yeah, in terms of lineup, I was quite encouraged because I think we've spoken about before about Emile Smith-Rowe and Martin Odegaard coexisting, and I was quite interested to see them play in deeper roles. as those, I guess, 2 number 8s, we'll call them, in a 4-3-3.
Mm.
I would say that on reflection of the game, Arsenal were good for in, say, 2/3 of the pitch, and then the final third, you're still looking for them to take that extra step where, like, especially with how the press box is positioned at Turf Moor, you're quite high up, so you've got
Perfect view, innit?
almost a bird's eye view of what's going on the pitch, and you can just see there, in my opinion anyway, there needed to be a bit more movement off the ball. When say Thomas Partey received, there needs to be a bit more movement from Smith Rowe and Odegaard, and then also Saka and Pepe maybe stretching the defenders a bit more. But I do think that on the whole, especially with the, I guess, defensive side of things, it was a promising performance.
Yeah, man. Like you said, I mean, I'm very wary of using words like quality, performance, and all of these things, because if we was judging Arsenal to a side that we want to get top 4 and things, these are arguably minimums. These are things you shouldn't really praise a team for. But in comparison to our Arsenal was against Norwich, personally, as perfect as we can be, considering our form, really, I think it's no coincidence. I'm going to press you on this a bit more. I want to know what you thought of the Partey Odegaard partnership as well, because for me, I like, you kind of mentioned it, 2 revolving 8s, but primarily I saw Odegaard next to Partey. For Partey, it looked like it was clear what he needs to do. For Odegaard, he looked like it was clear for him, and he was getting on the ball and things. And I think there was no coincidence we fared a bit better in the first half, because the midfield was spot on and we was moving it around. Now, like, I agree with you, needs to be a bit more movement, needs to be a bit more variety in the final third, need to be a bit more clinical, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, what did you make of the midfield? I want to say trio, but focusing on Odegaard and Partey, and is that something you want to see a bit more long term, at least until new players can come in, if new players can come in?
Yeah, I think what helped Partey a lot was Ramsdale. Ramsdale was very assured, and he knew what pass he was going to make before he made it. So that's where you get.
Do you think Leno struggles with that? Sorry, I just want to ask you that. Do you think, is that something Leno might struggle with, to play devil's advocate, because you mentioned Ramsdale?
Yeah, I do think that is one of Leno's weaker points, because especially, I think, when Mikel Arteta first came in, if you remember the home leg against Olympiacos, Olympiacos's winner comes from Bernd Leno just having almost a brain freeze.
Everyone just remembers the bicep kick from Aubameyang.
And I think that's a issue that cropped up, obviously, at multiple points last season as well, where I guess people were trying to jump to who is to blame, but I guess it's more whose responsibility is it to kind of know what action to take next. And I think with how quickly Ramsdale got the ball into Partey, you see where Partey can receive on the turn, and then the pitch is open. And that's where, especially if Arsenal are building down the right, that helps a lot. But then with Odegaard, I think with him coming deeper, his also just ball retention helps, because that's an area where, especially last season, you saw Arsenal just bypassing the midfield because they couldn't keep the ball.
Bullied, man, he'd being too nice.
And I think if going forward anyway, they need players who can keep the ball and keep it moving quickly as well. So yeah, I think those two were probably, if we're talking about the trio, those two were the shining lights, and then you're looking for a bit more from Smith Rowe in that deeper position, I think. But hopefully that will come with a few more games in that deeper role, I guess.
Why do you think there's been a dip? Because you mentioned it. Like, I'm very wary of saying dip, because it's just our young players. But Saka and Smith Rowe, now everybody's probably not going to give Saka the praise for winning that free kick, which led to obviously Odegaard. But I mean, even for me, Saka is clearly struggling. Evidently, looks a bit, for me, a touch heavier. He looks like his first touch isn't quite there. Looks like he's suffering a bit. But for me, even on his worst of days, he's still giving you a 6.5, and that tells you everything. Like, I don't think he was terrible against Burnley. What do you make of our Highland boys potentially struggling? Is it time to move them out of the team now? I know we're going to speak about Wimbledon in a sec, but obviously both of them came off the bench, had positive gains. But do you think they could do with being taken out of the limelight, as much as you can say that going into Spurs at the weekend?
For Saka, I think that is more understandable. I remember writing the piece in March, or it might have been February. So just after Arsenal lost to
Plug that,
Man
man.
City.
Get that so we can send that to people in this, man. Plug that.
I'll try and find it quick.
Need to.
Let me see if I know what to search. Shit, what do I search?
This is how you know he's made too many articles. Guy doesn't even know how to find his own stuff anymore. Soon forget the articles he's even made.
Outfield play. Let me search that.
Saka was a lot sharp when he came on yesterday. I'd agree, man. He made from the. I only seen the highlights, but Saka looked decent yesterday. P-Mav, you're right.
I'll put in the private chat. But yeah, so that was just after Mikel Arteta used him more as a central midfielder, really, against Manchester City last year, where he was pretty much the player who was getting the ball in the defensive third, having to drive through the middle third, and then also having to execute in the final third. And it just seemed like he was doing way too much. And then you think to the end of the season, and he was Arsenal's second most used player in all competitions, behind only Granit Xhaka. And he, at that, obviously he's 20 years old now, but at that point he was still only 19 years old. So alarm bells were already kind of ringing for me in the, I guess, closing stages of last season. And I was actually quite surprised at the speed at which he was brought back into the team this season. And like, I was speaking to people and they were saying, well, he has to play because he's Arsenal's best player. But I mean, there is truth to that. But I also just felt that, especially with him being taken to the September international break, it was just a bit too much. So I think with him, it will be a bit more understandable if he is, say, rested again against Tottenham. Personally, I don't think he will be. I think he would start.
I don't think you can start him. I mean, you know, I know he needs to be rested and things like that, but then I always think about it. At the end of the day, you need 3 points, and I do think Saka makes you stronger at getting 3 points. And while people will hear the logic in resting Saka, if you don't play and it goes sideways against Spurs, you know yourself how unforgiving fans can be and where emotions start going.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess with Smith Rowe, I would be more inclined to keep him in the side. The one thing with him is I think he's been getting into much better positions in terms of goal scoring opportunities, but he hasn't taken those.
Needs to take them.
So, opening day against Brentford, he does that kind of I guess signature half-turn spin on the halfway line, drives up to the box and shoots straight at David Raya. Norwich, again, gets into a great position. Shoots straight at the keeper. Burnley, again, gets into a great position.
It will be inspired.
So I think with him, hopefully that he finally scored against Wimbledon, that may just, where you see, I guess you see it more with strikers, where it just takes that one goal to kind of unlock their
open up the floodgates and whatnot.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case with him. But I've just been with him. It's more of a case of execution rather than, say, fatigue, I think. So I'd be more inclined to keep him in the side.
On one hand, I think a lot is made of it. I don't think it's that deep. I think players go through good and bad moments, and I do think they need rest. I do think you kind of said it, and I think Arsenal, sometimes we play someone to the point where, and it's almost remarkable how they're able to keep their performance levels so high. And I think we fail to understand, like life, there's two sides of a coin. So the same way that form is going to be there, it can be a bit negative. And when I look at historically, Aubameyang, kind of teeny this season, if I'm honest with you. Saka, and less, I think it's a bit exaggerated, but less so much Smith Rowe. I think we're kind of playing catch up in that regards. And I feel, at least where the last two quote unquote 3 games with Wimbledon are concerned, you know, at least these guys haven't, I've said guys that are meant to be our key players. at least we've won these games and we've been relatively untroubled as well. So that's a good thing for me. In an ideal world, there should be a way where we could take out these two 20-year-olds or whatever, however old they are, and rest them because there's big pressure. What did you make of the defense? Because obviously I'm gonna branch everyone as a defense, because obviously jury's still out on Tomiyasu, but he had another good game. As you mentioned, Ramsdale's distribution. I like his vocalness and his vocal nature. Collecting crosses like Martinez, very solid in that regards. Gabriel came back into the side. Ben White, I think he did all right. Obviously, couple shaky moments here and there. So what do you make of this back five unit and how it's blossoming and things like that now?
Yeah, I think obviously Tierney was already there, so we're not going to talk about him too much.
Yeah, of course not.
But Gabriel, I think, as you said earlier, probably I don't think there was any doubt that he was the most, I guess, solid centre back in the club. Facts. I remember last year, obviously his debut was at Fulham, and I can't remember it. Oh no, he didn't get man of the match because of Willian. But then his first proper Premier League test was the week after, when he played Mikel Antonio at the Emirates. And Mikel Antonio, he's going to try and rough you up, basically. But
make it healthy, yeah.
But he stood up to that challenge, and I remember writing a piece on it at the time. I'm not going to plug because I can't. I can't find
too prestige now. You can't find that. Nice, you up.
But that's where I kind of realized, wow, this guy is almost like a giant. Really, he's still only 23 as well. I think people forget that, but he's much more athletic than, say, Pablo Mari.
And right better.
and he defends more proactively as well. So he's hands down starter for that left-sided role. Ben White, I think, he was better defensively than he was on the ball at Burnley. There were
enjoyed it a bit too much for me.
For me, it was weird because there were just moments where it felt like he hesitated on the ball too much. Like, I think I mentioned it in my match piece.
It's too casual, man.
Where Saka is basically in that half space on the right, and you have, I thought he had to play it. The away fans behind him thought he had to play it, but he just turned back and
played that pass back to Ramsdale, saying, innit?
Yeah, and it's those moments where you just think, just play the ball,
be confident, man.
Hopefully that comes. I guess we saw that penalty.
Yeah. Boy, I don't think that's any excuse there. You got bailed out, mate.
I think. Yeah, I wasn't hanging with that excuse either.
He's sleeping for me.
But I think he's probably, as we see at the minute, he's the guy that's trusted there at the minute. And then Tomiyasu, I guess when we last spoke, Arsenal had 4 right backs and none of them were first choice. Now Arsenal actually have someone who's trusted in that right back role. 6'2", so he dealt with Chris Wood very well. Facts. And so I guess obviously I didn't watch him in depth before he signed for Arsenal, but from what I saw, what I liked was, whereas I guess it just seems like so many defenders in the Premier League, they back away and back away.
He's onto them, innit?
When wingers are running at him, rather than him back away, he stands his ground. And I don't know, it just seems not unique, but it just seems like defenders in the Premier League, fullbacks especially, they're just too
reluctant to make a challenge, innit?
Yeah, they back away too easily. And I like that about him, that he actually stands his ground. Facts. And he is an enthusiastic defender. What I guess we still have to see is what he offers going forward. Obviously, he had a few flashes against Norwich, but nothing that actually showed us, I guess, his proper skill set in those moments. So hopefully, maybe we'll see it against Tottenham. I'm not sure, but over the coming weeks, that's probably where I'm looking to see him develop more in an Arsenal shirt.
I mean, it's interesting, some of the points you said. For me, with Ben White, I think he's a good right back. I still think, it's a bit of a weird one because I think he looked full of confidence when he came in. And I just feel after that Brentford game, he's had these little moments. Like you said, he can see the pass. I'd rather you do it. I think he goes through moments where he's not necessarily confident to play the pass. Then he's too confident to the point where he's casual. Like the penalty incidents is the one that's going to get the moment. But there was one and you might remember it more than me. I think it was either Wood or Barnes. He was dilly-dallying on the ball in like the right-hand channel, and
It
it's like he
was Wood.
tried turn. Yeah, like, and he just got disarmed. I was thinking, bro, Ski, you need to wake up. This isn't Power League. Like, come on, you've got something there. I don't want to write him off because I feel it's just too early. I think there's going to come a stage where Ramsdale's going to struggle, where certain players that are thriving now are going to struggle. Certain people that are struggling are going to thrive. I would prefer if anyone was going to be playing well, it would be no, I want everyone to play well, but I'd rather be talking about Ben White purely because he cost 50 million. You know, I'd like the partnership he's got developing with Gabriel. I think we both understand they're 23, 24 years of age. There's going to be some tough lessons. Tomiyasu's 22, even though he doesn't look it. On Tomiyasu, like you said, I like how he's just competent, man. Like, he just looks like a right back. He just does right back stuff. I think it's very refreshing. Like you said, he knows when to get tight, knows when to back off, knows when to provide width. Still want to see a bit more of a attacking sort of threat, like you said, because I think that will get more out of Saka. That'll probably get more out of Pepe and whoever is playing there. But yeah, I think we've got some good building blocks. I do want to see, you know, Odegaard and Ben White in particular become leaders of this team. And yeah, man, against Spurs, it's going to be a big test because obviously you got Kane, you got Son, so there's going to be a big test for them, man. But yeah, other than that, I feel second half, I feel we defended well in the Norwich game, but I mean in the Burnley game, but it's like it weren't really defending well. It's like we're clearing the ball, but it's half clearances and it's coming right back on top of us. And there was some nervy moments. I think it was a bit too open for me.
Yeah, I think it's weird. So hopefully this doesn't change the topic too much, but when Arsenal women played Chelsea women on the opening day of the season, Chelsea for the last half an hour were just bombing crosses into the box. And I was sat there thinking, why are you letting them do that? Why is no one closing down the cross? So I asked the manager, Jonas Edeval, after, and he said that in that game in particular, they knew that Chelsea's first option wasn't to cross, even though they like to go wide. They wanted to go wide, draw a fullback out, and then play the ball behind into the channel.
Inside and exploit the space. Yeah.
So that's why they decided to, I guess, stay in the box and deal with the crosses that came in. I don't know if that's the same thinking that, say, Arteta had at Burnley, because Burnley's first option is to cross the ball.
Only option.
But
if they're not going to foul and cheat.
But I do think that that's where Gabriel and Tomiyasu, excelled in particular, and Ramsdale, because I think especially Ramsdale, as you mentioned earlier, just claiming crosses. The box was packed at times, and you think, how is he actually even gonna?
How's he gonna get
a glove
there,
on it? But he just seemed to emerge every time with the ball. And what also one thing that helped massively in those moments was his range of pass as well. Because it's either
very impressed by that. Didn't think he had a couple of them in his locker, if I'm honest.
So I think it was weird because again, hopefully this isn't too big a tangent, but
no, go on, bro.
When England under 21s were playing their I think it was the under 21s Euros group stage in April this year, he was their goalkeeper, and Adi Boothroyd was trying to have him to play out from the back. And I hadn't seen much of Ramsdale at that point, so I was quite confused, because when I looked at his, I guess, pass map from goal kicks, they were all going like around the halfway line, like across the width of the halfway line, some even further. And I was thinking, well, if he's spending most of his time at Sheffield United hitting those long balls, fizzed passes, why are you not kind of utilizing that at England? And I think obviously he's shown that he can play short range passes, but utilizing that long ball in moments where you just need to take the pressure off has helped a lot. And I think even just him holding on to the ball for an extra second or two, just telling everyone to calm down. Obviously, Leno would do that as well, but seeing that he's able to realize the moment to go long, but also the moment not to go long, to actually just keep calm.
Time and a place sort of thing.
I think that's what's probably encouraged me in terms of that side of the defending as well. But as you say, I don't think I was quite stressed watching the last half an hour at Burnley.
Yeah, I'd say last 45 for me.
Um, so I'd rather Arsenal didn't have to defend like that on a long-term basis.
Facts, man. I think one thing that's impressed me with Ramsdale, you said it. It's like obviously you've been in a dogfight, relegation, long balls. So I was like, I was looking at it. I don't know if you can play with your feet. Is it a thing where you can play with your feet, but obviously the team you're at, they ain't got technical footballers, so they're not going to do that. So if there was some underlying metrics or something I didn't know, that's cool. I don't want to say the guy's name, but a certain ex-goalkeeper that was here with Leno, because you know how fans carry on. I think there's a similarities that I liked in him in Ramsdale. In that, for me, it's like they know that they have to do the modern day thing of playing out from the back and things. But it's like, for me, it's like they know that I'm not a ball playing keeper. So when I'm doing these things, I need to think about what I'm doing. Now, no disrespect to Leno, he to a different level, you know, he's a bit like Alisson and Edison to me. And to be honest, if he was that level, I wouldn't mind it. I think if you genuinely asked him, do you want to play in the back three, he'll go and do it, because I think he fancies himself. And I think, like how he's talking about Ben White, I think Leno is just far too casual and complacent on the ball. I do think Leno is more vocal than people giving credit, but I just think when you've got that with the mixed bag of bad habits that he comes with, and the lack of vocalness, I think it gives nerves to us. I think there's no coincidence that Xhaka is dropped out. We're moving the ball faster. In the first half, Burnley's still compact, still four at the back, but they're not as sitting back as much as that. I think there's no coincidence that we look more confident in both halves with Ramsdale behind. Now, there's obviously going to be games where Ramsdale, we say, could you have saved that? Could you have done better, etc. But that's something I think he has in his locker. I just think there's more clarity in what they're doing. There was even an incident, he took too long on the ball and was almost closed down.
Yeah.
I can't lie, he's got that in him. But I'm
there was
happy
one at
with
West
him.
Brom as well.
Yeah, and the West Brom one, he goes through these little brain farts. There will be that time where that striker gambles and scores, but I like what I see from them. I like the building blocks. I mean, if we get the midfield spot on, for me, we'll get into the Spurs game soon, but if we go with Lokonga, Partey, Odegaard, or a minimum that same pivot, then I think we have half a chance if we get that midfield right. Sorry. Moving on, what did you make of the Wimbledon game? Was you there?
Yeah, so I was there. I didn't realize there was no broadcast of it.
Stress,
Actually,
bro, stress. You should have
and
got your data out and helped us, man.
But yeah, I think the 3-0 scoreline, everyone would probably think it was like an exciting game, but it wasn't that exciting. Yeah, I think first half started quite strong. Obviously, it was the 4-3-3/4-2-3-1, if you want to call it that, with Maitland-Niles in the Smith Rowe role.
Yeah.
And I think, and then the front three was Martinelli on the right, Lacazette through the middle, and Nketiah on the left. And I think those players all had flashes, but it just showed why Arteta went that strong, as he does routinely in cup competitions, because these players haven't played football in a while,
in a very long time, yeah.
And they need minutes. I think Maitland-Niles had quite a good link up a few times with Thomas Partey, and as I guess we've spoken about before, he understands space very well, but it just comes down to the execution,
the quality on the ball. Yeah.
There was a moment where he drifts into between the lines to receive, and he tries to play a round the corner ball to Lacazette first time, but he hasn't taken into account that the centre back's rushing him, and it's just those kind of things where you feel like with a few more games, maybe he would have been prepared for that, but because he's in that weird situation where he's not a starting player, but he's getting games off the bench.
1-2 minutes here and there, yeah.
Where you just feel like the lack of European football is killing some of these players. But
Martinelli still couldn't even get 90 minutes. Sorry, just have to put out there. It's mad.
So yeah, I think he had good moments, like understanding where to be, but it was just execution. Nketiah, it was a similar thing where he was, in my opinion, one of probably the sharpest striker or forward.
He looked good. He looked good.
Pre-season. when he scored against Watford. I think who else did he? I can't remember who else he scored against. Rangers. Looked good against Chelsea in pre-season. Gets the injury, which is quite unfortunate at that time, because when you look at how there was that, as well as Lacazette and Aubameyang weren't really on form at that time. So
Facts.
when you look at that Brentford game,
And it was COVID as well.
Yeah, that could have been a really good opportunity for him to actually, I guess, maybe kickstart his Arsenal career. But now he's back in that situation where he's playing for the under-23s against Manchester United a couple of weeks ago. And then he's, I guess, waiting for this moment. And I think there were instances where he was almost overthinking what he should do in certain
Trying too
moments.
hard to impress, because you only got one chance in it.
There was, in the first half, around 20 minutes in, Cross comes into the box and he tries a bicycle kick in a packed box, and
and he hit someone in the face. I remember I was listening to the commentator or something. That's comedy, isn't it?
It was just such an unnecessary decision, but it was almost typical of a player who is trying almost too hard to impress, because they're not getting a look in the Premier League. And then a couple minutes after that, lovely first touch to bring the ball down in midfield, and he just telegraphs this attempted nutmeg. Everyone saw it. Me in the press box, the guy next to me in the press box. As soon as he shaped his body, everyone said nutmeg, and the opposition midfielder saw it as well and tackled him. But then you get the, I guess, the moment that is his goal, lovely goal, where you just see he's still got the quality there. It's just
cute little flick in it.
Yeah, honestly,
and then you know I love the phone call. Yeah, man.
I
thought the battery died on the phone, but it's still alive.
I almost went mad, Lucian boy. So, but I think you see,
blue borough bias.
Like, it's just, you need these guys to be, I guess, in a place where things are just natural to them, and you can't get that when you're playing once every few weeks.
Who do you blame for this then? Like, sorry to cut you. Who do you blame for it? Because on the hand of it, Arsenal did try sell him. You know, you need to play football historically. You know, you got the same agent as Balogun, and I want to ask you about Balogun as well, but we'll get into that. You know, who do you blame? Because again, in January, he can agree a fee and leave he can agree a deal and leave for free. He could leave permanently, but I don't know if you're going to get too many minutes. Now, Arteta likes him, and Arteta was waxing lyrical about Eddie Nketiah in typical fashion post-game. But the reality is, you know, Aubameyang right now is playing through the middle. You know, you've got Lacazette. I think there should be Martinelli involved and whatnot. Like, what do you make of Eddie from now to January? And who do you, if there is, I don't want to say blame, but for this situation, because regardless of him making it at Arsenal or not, surely he shouldn't be here playing 23s.
Yeah, I think so. I'm actually going to plug something.
Go on, man.
Right, I'll send it in the private chat. So wrote this a week before the deadline.
I think I read that one.
A week before the deadline closed.
Taking that one, folks.
It kind of looks at the situation, obviously, in the broader sense of how Arsenal have been rubbish at selling players for a while now. But then also, I guess it looks at Nketiah's point of view as well. Yeah. If you look at the situation as if it was you, and you're in the last year of your contract, you're still only 22 years old. So you've got, say, I guess maybe 8 years left, prime football, and then what happens after you're 30 happens. 6 months isn't going to be a big deal, I think, when he's thinking in maybe 5 years' time. If he thinks about this 6 months, it's going to be like a pebble.
Just stay fit and do your thing, innit? You know, get a bigger signing on fee as well.
So if you're Eddie Nketiah, the power is in your hands. So if you feel, and I know James McNicholas reported that he was offered a contract by Arsenal in June, and he still hasn't extended. If he feels that his future is best elsewhere, then just bide your time. Even if that means it looks like an L in the short term playing 23s football.
Long term, it could be crazy.
Long term, it could actually be beneficial for you. And that's where I think you get into a discussion where ethics is the wrong word, but, and this isn't just an Arsenal thing, but clubs up and down the country treat players like they're pawns.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I don't begrudge Eddie
So,
from a neutral point of view, bro. I don't begrudge Eddie Nketiah because, again, to me, if you're giving me a new deal, you're just giving it to me because you can protect yourself, make profit for the player. So from a neutral point of view, I think Eddie is right to keep his hands on his heads. I think the only people that are going to benefit is someone like a Michelin tat or something like that looks at it, sees a young English boy, whether Eddie's going to be amazing or not. Like you said, you get him at 22. You improve him even 10%, bro. You're making 20 million on him. He'll be back in the Prem or whatever. So, from an Eddie Nketiah point of view, I think it's smart and it's the waiting game. And I'm waiting to see if Eddie has the best season he does, because I hate to be that guy, but last season of the deal, guys start playing out of their skin and whatnot. What do you think it means for Balogun then? Because obviously they got the same agent. You still have Nketiah on paper. You've got Lacazette for a year. You've still got Aubameyang. I don't know if Arteta sees Martinelli through the middle, but he can play through the middle. There's a bunch of attacking players. What do you make of Balogun? Because I think on one hand, fans overdo it because he signed a new deal. There's no God-given right. You need to go out there and prove it and things like that. And I don't think you necessarily look ready. But at the same time, you need to be given experience to get experience. You either should have gone out on loan, or I just don't think he should be playing 23s majority what he's doing now. So, and I would have thought he would have got. I didn't think he'd start this against Wimbledon, but I hope he would have. So, with there no Europa League and these things, like, what do you make of Balogun's situation now then?
Yeah, so with Balogun, I'm less, I guess, I don't know what the word is, but maybe less worried, I guess is the way to phrase it, because he signed the contract in the spring, which is until 2025, so 4 years. And I think, again, when you're thinking long term, is what happens in this six-month period going to define him? No. I think there is. I do agree that he shouldn't be playing 23s football. He's way too good for that. Against Manchester United,
and for the last 18 months as well, man.
Yeah, he scored within a minute against Manchester United under 23s. Then went round Dean Henderson to score a second against Chelsea on the weekend. I was there as well. He won. He won the penalty. He set up a great goal for Mika Bieref with a lovely floated ball.
What a ball that was!
And then he scored a second before getting subbed off because Omar Rekik was sent off.
Yeah, that kind of messed up for us.
And I think, I think personally, I would have looked for a loan, but then I think speaking to like a few of these guys within the club, there is almost a thought where some players are built for the loan kind of trajectory.
Some aren't.
Others aren't. And you see that, I guess, with Tyrese John-Jaws, who I guess if we rewind maybe 2 seasons, or maybe even 3 seasons, he was probably closer to the first team than Balogun. He was on the bench. He was on the bench for Freddie Ljungberg in the Europa League. He was on the bench for Mikel Arteta in the FA Cup against Leeds. And he's since taken the loan route because I think they probably thought he was probably more ready for the challenges that come with first team football, especially in the Football League.
I think with Tyrese, they've just picked poor choices of him to go out on loan. I think one thing that's, for me, looking at what's gone against Tyrese, and Blackpool's a bit different, but they just see a 6-foot lump and just smack it to his neck and whatnot. Like, he has times where he gets to show his technical ability. Of course, injuries haven't helped, but it's the quality of loans. And that's even on the topic of strikers, Eddie Nketiah, on the face of it, going to Bielsa, it would have all been great. But could we have looked at that and thought maybe that was a bit different? Time will tell what Reece Nelson is going to do at Feyenoord, because they did seem like they wanted to get him. But you're right. I just feel with us, there's just we don't pick quality loans, and I feel like you said, there's certain players that should go out on loan. I look at people like, if Iwobi goes out on loan, he doesn't play. I don't think Joe Willock, if he goes out on loan them early days, makes it at Arsenal. But there are other people that can go and thrive, like you said.
Yeah, and with Balogun as well, I'd hope that in January there's resolutions that, if they're not like direct effects on him, there are domino effects. So obviously we've still got Lacazette to make a decision on, NKETIAH as well. Whatever happens with those two, there's going to be a domino effect on Balogun.
Facts.
And I think in January you get the FA Cup. Maybe, I don't know if you'd play him because that might cup tie him if you want to get him out on loan. But also in December you've got the midweek Premier League games as well. So that's where you can potentially get him a bit more, I guess, first team experience at Arsenal, and then decide in January. But I would agree with your like proper point of he's someone who should not be, I guess, just playing under 23s football.
Yeah, because for me, it's a bit of. At least I agree with you. Like, you're training with the first team. I think sometimes circumstances can make things. I think you make a great point of, although it looks like he's made the wrong decision, this is a few months to what could be years. I think end of the day he signed a new deal, but I just feel at his age, you've got to be playing 20, 30 games. I'm not with what most fans saying that he's going to start week in, week out in the Premier League, because I don't like, if I'm a relegation threatened team like Norwich, do I think Balogun is going to help get 20 league goals or close to it to keep me up? I don't. He might be able to be someone on the bench. So I do think maybe the Championship, by God's grace, if he could play Premier League or elsewhere, I think he needs to go and just, for me, be outside your comfort zone. Like Brentford, I feel sorry for anyone who plays through the middle for Arsenal because we don't create. But I felt sorry for him because I felt last season we could have played him against a West Brom and blooded him in, because you don't know what to expect when you ain't been there. Your only experience has been beating up teams like Dundalk and things like that. With respect to them, it's not really a test, is it? A couple of our 23s will look well, but I think it's he needs to be out of his comfort zone. Against Brentford, he didn't know how to react. There was the standard stuff, physically dominating him. They're pulling his shirt. You could see him moaning to the ref, but the ref is saying there's nothing there. I think he needs to go through that. I feel, for me, as much as I like young players, you're special here. Like Balogun, John Jules, all these guys, you're very special. I rate you. You're Hale End, you're this and that. All these other clubs, they don't give a crap about you with that. You've got this ability, go and show it. It's like Aziz at Portsmouth now. Obviously, and I'm not saying for disclaimer, you need to do a madness in 1 year where you're not going to play. But it's like, Aziz, they're not going to care that you can pass the ball forward. They see Arsenal midfielder potential, go out and show us. And I just think, I actually feel with Eddie, Nketiah and Joe Willock for a number of years, like there was a number of years they're playing in the first team, but they're not quite in the first team. I actually feel Smith Rowe was a part of it until last December. Smith Rowe was involved in all of that. And obviously his chance came and he took it. Now I hope that happens for Balogun, because I want a bit more clarity over the squad, because I just feel with our strikers, there is no clarity. Yeah, Aubameyang is contracted for another 18 months or so, but we don't know really what's going on. Could he be dropped? Is he going to start scoring? Lacazette is here for another season at least, but he might, we already know his future. What's going on with Martinelli? What's going on with Eddie Nketiah? What's going on with Balogun? It's as simple as that for me, bro.
Yeah, and that, again, you come into the season with 5 potential strikers with no European football. So
It's mad, isn't it?
So there's going to be, I guess, problems is maybe the wrong word, but there's going to be problems throughout. So yeah, I think my hope would be we get a bit more clarity in January, sorry. And even where, I guess, if you take Balogun out of the frame, what happens with Martinelli if he's not getting starts? Because
yeah, where you at with that, man? Because like, are you open to loan him out? Because on one hand, I get it. He's had some injuries. You do see him cramp at times in games. I can understand it, but I feel I'm not really with this whole protecting someone from injuries and not playing them, because I think Martinelli is. I think times where our team has been even worse, Martinelli was doing what the Saka and Smith Rowe was doing before. I don't understand what it is. I know he says he unbalances the team and things like that, but he doesn't even make enough sub appearances. So I'm at the point now, if Martinelli isn't going to play, you might as well loan him out, because Ronaldinho rates him, Jurgen Klopp rates him, everyone that understands football rates him. Like, I rate him, you rate him. So either let him go out on loan or whatever. Like, it's like, where you at with Martinelli come January, man? Or just in general now, like your general thoughts on what we're doing with him?
So that would be one that would make more sense to me in terms of a loan than Balogun, for instance, because he's already experienced the Premier League, and I guess he'd be a bit more marketable to clubs to loan. Whereas I guess clubs, especially with first loans, they would be quite reluctant because they're not 100% sure what they're getting.
You need assurances, in this league.
And Martinelli gives you those assurances. My question would be, okay, we get to January, what types of clubs need a striker? I guess it comes into your point in can Norwich rely? I'd probably expect he'd be able to do a job for a better team than Norwich, but would they be able to rely on him for?
Where'd you loan him? Is it a Prem thing? Is it abroad? Because I'm feeling Prem. I feel you said Norwich. I feel they play good football. I think Brighton, Graham Potter. I think Brentford there.
I would be more inclined to keep loans in England, just because, okay, it's not a risk, but they're probably more in tune to the football culture if they stay in England rather than going abroad. So I'd be more inclined to stay in England with loans. Obviously, not every team is going to play the way Arsenal play, but you get a better sense of what you're actually going to face as an Arsenal player.
100%.
So that's kind of where my mind is at. And then in terms of general thoughts, I understand. So personally, he wouldn't be one of my regular starters, but he'd be one of my, I guess, players to bring off the bench when I guess the tempo of the game needs to change.
That's what I see with Martinelli. He's someone that you're a starter for me. You're in the mix, but right now I'm probably leaning towards Saka, Pepe, maybe Smith Rowe off that flank. But I'll give him minutes. You come and complicate things. The minute you take your chance, all right, Smith Rowe, Saka, Pepe, one of you might have to come out the team. Or even for me, what I think is one of my pet peeves with Arteta, it's a bit like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. It's like he name drops, he talks about them, he talks about their ability to play in multiple roles, but then I never see it. And I just feel Martinelli's ability to play as a striker should be utilized, especially with Lacazette and Aubameyang's woeful or inconsistent sort of form. And I just feel we've tried Willian up there, semi-finals last season. We've gone with Smith Rowe up there. You know, I don't know what Martinelli has to do or what even Pepe has to do to play in that role he played under Leo. There's some decisions I just don't understand with Arteta, but boy, like, it's what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely one where I think, thankfully, I guess with Maitland-Niles, we're finally starting to see some clarity, because that's now, I think,
let's not count our chickens yet. Something like that, though. I hear with you.
Four appearances that he's been in central midfield in a row. So, maybe I'm jumping too early, but I mean, he's finally playing in his preferred role at Arsenal. Obviously, we're not going to see that in terms of like a regular star in the Premier League, but I think that's where I guess they've got clarity over what he wants, what Arteta wants, and they've come to. It looks like they've come to an agreement, and I think of the players whose futures were uncertain last month, he's probably come out the best out of those players.
Probably, yeah. Moaning on social seems to help.
So yeah. I don't know when that clarity will come with the others.
I don't, man.
It will be very hard with one game a week.
But, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like you said it there, it's like with one game a week, I understand it, because as much as I want young players to play, I just feel with one game a week, because of how Arsenal have been, I think it's time to go back to basics. This is why I kind of wanted to see sooner rather than later Ramsdale into the team. Let's see what he's built for. The other back five, sorting out midfield, and then just letting them play week in, week out, because one luxury could be that we get a bit of stability. So I did kind of want to see, less of these question marks. You've got forgotten men like Kolasinac. He starts against City. He's not involved everywhere. He's on the bench yesterday, but you never hear anything. So I was a bit disappointed in Arteta with that. I want to ask you on Tavares, though, because, again, after discount a bit, I didn't watch the Wimbledon game, but it seems like they did try and play football, but generally one-way traffic. It was more a game where everybody shines going forward. But Tavares got man of the match, and for me, you can only play what's in front of you in it. I want to see him push Tierney, and I don't think I've shined any light on him. I know Lokonga had a decent game. We know Lokonga was good. But yeah, man. Yeah, where do you think of that?
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised that Tavares got man of the match.
So was I, based on what I've heard.
I don't think that anyone really stood out. I think probably Partey stood out because he's a cut above.
I see him almost score. I was thinking, Rod, now they're not showing. They're really not showing their game. That's probably Partey's best shot.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, so that's where him and Maitland-Niles worked quite well together, getting those little bits of space for him to get those shots. But with Tavares, I think we discussed it after the West Brom game, where he's just, I guess, chaos when he's on the ball.
Method to his madness.
Because you don't know what he's going to do. He can cut onto his right. He can go down the left. He can do a little Megs. He can scoop turn. He can shoot. He can cross.
He's dodgy, man.
But then there's moments when Wimbledon, the one that sticks out to me is Wimbledon's winger receives the ball and does one of those double movements where he goes, say, left, right.
Body feints, and that sends him one way or the other.
And he's gone down the touchline. And it's those, I guess, moments where one is, I guess, maybe starting positions defensively. He's probably a bit too high. He can probably give himself a yard.
He's not interested in defending, in my opinion. He'll get back, but he's not interested, man. He's a loose cannon. Reminds me of myself.
He's not too reliant on his pace, but I think he's like, yeah, I'll get to him.
Yeah, I know I can get there. It's a bit of youthful naivety from the 21-year-old.
But I think it's wrong saying that needs to be cut out of his game, because you don't want to like crush a player. You don't want to
take out what makes them a decent player, what's decent to them. Yeah, you just want to harness it.
You just want to, I guess, maybe educate the player a little bit more into, okay, you're fast enough, you will get there. And again, hopefully this isn't too much of a tangent, but
no, go ahead.
When I used to play rugby, I started out on the wing, and
what's that, scrum half, whatever they call it?
No. So I was a winger.
I played one game at scrum half for my school. I didn't. Rugby was not my thing, babe.
And as people, I guess, would know, you can only pass backwards. And
I never knew that.
In the attacking line, the winger is usually the last person to receive the ball. But I would always, because I was almost just like, I need to get the ball. I'd always almost be too far ahead.
So you was on a Tavares thing, but rugby terms, basically. Same hair and everything.
So I could have given myself a few more yards, come onto the ball, flat on speed at the right time. And these are probably like my early days, but I probably didn't trust myself enough to give myself those extra few yards. And I think obviously it's a very different thing, professional football, to just like me playing rugby.
Of course.
But in terms of just, I guess, what goes through someone's head, like he's probably thinking, yeah, I've got the pace, it doesn't matter.
I can get there, in it, a bit naive.
But if you actually think in terms of, let me get in a position so I don't have to use my pace.
All right.
That's where you're probably gonna develop even further.
Difference.
You see, who would be a good example? I'm not sure.
Say a great example would just be Van Dijk, because I think, obviously he's a good defender, but he's a good reader of the game. I just think in generally, focusing on the Prem now, I just think everyone will praise a team counter-attacking and Van Dijk making a slide tackle, and not look at maybe Liverpool are all out of position, they got hit on the transition. That will be praised, and that's the Hollywood versus, people have read it and he's seen it and he's marked it and he's closed it down already before it's happened. I don't think people praise reading the game enough, but go on.
Against so the under-23s match against Chelsea, Chelsea had a break, about 4 players running down on, I think it was only Mazid Agungbo, who was
he always in the trenches,
who was back for Arsenal, and he just held his ground, didn't panic, didn't dive in,
Make the decision.
And he was able to actually get the ball, just a tackle on the edge of the box after the Chelsea player had 3 passing options for almost half of the pitch, and that Per Mertesacker was there, and that got almost a standing ovation for Per Mertesacker. And obviously, again, that's a different level. That's under 23s football.
No, it's the same thing because, like I said, it would have been glamorous if he made a slide tackle and it was 4-on-1. Wow, he stood his ground. He made them make a decision. So it's completely spot on, bro. Go on.
But yeah, those are kind of the moments where you just feel like, I guess, with Tavares, you just need to tighten up his game a little bit rather than. Obviously, you can let him be a loose cannon, but
fine balance in it.
But yeah, and it's not a terrible thing what we're saying. Like, he's only just signed. He's still 21. He's not the first choice at the minute. So it's like, I know some people may see this as like a mad criticism or whatever, but it's not. It's just, I guess, pointing out and giving context to what.
Stating the obvious, in my opinion. That can never be bad, bro.
So yeah,
literally.
Hopefully, people don't take that in the wrong way.
They can't, and I mean, if they do, they're in the wrong channel because it's not a criticism. It's just his strength is more the man himself. He was talking about shooting with his right foot, then he ever mentioned something defensively. So for me, since the moment he signed here, I've had these alarm bells, and I'm waiting to see what's going on in that regards. Really.
Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully Tierney as well is helping with that coaching. And
I think it's a lot of them where I think they can bring you water, but you got to drink, man. I think like he's one of them. He gives me a bit of, if I'm not comparing him to it, but it's like not Andros Townsend. It's an Andre Santos thing. It's like, you man just want to go forward. Like, that's what I see with Tavares, and I love it. Like you said, he's a madman. He does get back and put in the shift, but I want to just see him coached a bit more tactically. Want to see a bit more thinking rather than youthful exuberance and just method to your madness, randomness sort of thing. So I just want to see that. If he can pattern that, then there's a decent option. And like I said, just because he's second choice, like, I think he's undoubtedly clear he's second choice. I think the gulf between him and Tierney is closer than maybe Tomiyasu and Maitland-Niles, which is still a healthy gap. But I want to see him push it because that gets the best out of Tierney and whatnot. I'm aware of time and I don't want to keep you too long, but I do want to ask you one thing. Obviously, we've got to get into the North London derby. What's your thoughts on that? How do you feel about that? Do you drop Xhaka for that? And like, how do you feel about Spurs as well? Because I'm quite scared. They had a shaky game last night where they won on pens. They've lost 2 London derbies. Had they won all 3 of these games convincingly, then I'd be a lot more confident. But I'm kind of scared.
I think I'm quietly optimistic going into the weekend. I think obviously Arsenal aren't perfect at the minute, even though they've won 3 in all competitions on the bounce and kept 3 clean sheets.
I love it. So not us, but I love it.
As we mentioned earlier, there's still a way for them to go when they're attacking, and that's I guess maybe you'd get more of that in a North London derby where the game opens up a bit, hopefully anyway. But in terms of actual like sustained possession, sustained build up, you're still waiting for that click where players are just a bit more free in their movement and just are less, I guess, they're not waiting for a trigger to make a move.
Less structured and reliant on random individual moments and more of a sort of consistency. Before you carry on, do you think that's Arteta or the players? Because we've mentioned it, but we've never quite touched on it. And I personally think it's a bit of both. I think the players have got to take responsibility, but I look at it, Arteta named 37 different lineups in our 38 games where, we're 9th for goals. The metrics of shooting, creating, it's all mad. I know against Norwich we had 30 shots. I just feel, like you said, there's a bit too much structure, in my opinion, in the final third. And then you've got players that aren't really confident or have clarity of what they're doing. I just think we're defeating ourselves in that aspect. Where are you with that?
Yeah, similar to you, I think it's a mixture because when you look at, I guess, Arteta, more so last season, it was almost like he was trying to control every single scenario that was happening. And you can't really do that. I remember, so when I was doing a piece last year on what it was like to be coached by Thierry Henry, There's a clip of him explaining Guardiola's football, basically. And when he first went to Barcelona, there was a training drill where I think there was a set of cones up to the final third, and that was all structured play. And then in the final third, you could go where you liked.
Do what you do, your own thing. Yeah.
And I think that's where I guess it's a head coach / manager's job to get you to the final third, and then the players
your quality has to shine, innit?
And I think against Burnley, that's where we saw Pepe's underhit pass, Aubameyang's underhit pass, Smith Rowe's underhit pass. That's where you see, I guess, that's on the players. But then you've also got the side where Arteta's probably got to maybe allow for a bit more flexibility, a bit further back maybe, so it is less structured and it is freer in more areas. And I think hopefully they get to that point, because there was I guess moments where you just feel like the Ben White situation, for instance, even though that's much further back, the structure's set up but he doesn't make the pass. And you just need to the players
see it, do it.
Yeah, if you see it, just do it. And
have the confidence to do it, because I feel people underestimate. You can have all the tactics and whatnot in the world, and the players have to have confidence in their own people. You know, you need to find your own self-confidence. But I just feel there's a lot more Arteta can do to promote self-confidence. Like, see it, do it. Like, I'd rather mistakes happen. We play out from the back. There's going to be clangers. We've got early 20-year-old defenders. There's going to be mishaps. But I just feel if we're confident that, okay, we can react to it, there's not an issue there. I just feel for us to show this confidence historically, there needs to be too much things going right. Like against Norwich, the sun is shining, perfectly cut grass. You know, it's not too chilly outside. It was they're not attacking us. It was kind of perfect in that regards. I feel like you said, we just need a method to our madness, and I just feel maybe it's Arteta's handbrake defensively. I don't think he trusts these players, and I'm not gonna lie, I have seen a bit of it start to unravel in a positive ways that, you know, we spoke about earlier. But you've got your new look back five now, you know, so it looks like Partey and Odegaard looked a bit more free in the midfield. I won't say that extends to the final third because we're just talking about that, but maybe in time to come we'll start to see Arteta be a bit more attacking. How attacking, I don't know. Is this true? I don't know though.
Yeah, I think that's the one. We're all just waiting for the click in that final third. And I think we've maybe saying we've got that in the defensive third is a jump. I don't know, but Burnley felt like quite a big moment, especially with them keeping a clean sheet. But it is just one of those where maybe you need, as you say, the stars to align, the carpet, where maybe the excuse of long grass gets taken away from you, and the spotlight is there. We can actually see if you can deliver.
If you actually can do this,
because I think also, I guess, I'm just hoping the game becomes open quite quickly, because I believe that once the game gets less structured, that's when you start to see the real quality come through. Like almost not five-a-side, but
that sort of thing.
But that's where Smith Rowe does really well, where the game is broken and he can just take control.
Cute little passes and that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also another thing, obviously the system was different in pre-season, but when Arsenal press, I think that Smith Rowe, I'm talking about, Smith Rowe and Partey are very linked when Arsenal win the ball. I think that if Arsenal can get that press right in this 4-3-3 system, and it is, say, Partey winning the ball back, going straight into Smith Rowe, that's where quick turnover. I think that's where also you probably get a bit more of, I guess, I don't know what the word is, but just a more free-flowing attack, which I guess people will probably still probably not want to praise that much because it comes from
Such is life.
Arsenal in a defending scenario first. But yeah, you need to take everything you can get, really.
Facts. All right. So lastly, now, yeah, what's your thoughts in general on the North London derby, and do you bring back Xhaka into this lineup?
Okay, so overall thoughts are I would not start Xhaka. I would keep the same 11 that played against Burnley, with probably the one that's most likely to change from that is Saka, in my opinion.
Ooh. For you personally?
Yeah, either
What, not
Saka
Lacazette for
or
Aubameyang?
no, I don't think so. Either Saka or Pepe, one of the wingers,
Ooh.
I would change. Just because, as we mentioned, back five is pretty much set. Partey as the 6 is set. Smith Rowe didn't have his best game against Burnley,
Still
but
quality though, man.
I think he, as we've spoken about before, he's very unique among the Arsenal midfield. Martin Odegaard is Martin Odegaard.
You can't not drop him. His pressing is very slept on in general, and
Yeah.
ironically, it was central to us winning the last time when we played Spurs.
Exactly. Actually, let me plug that quickly. So, because I wrote about that.
Oh man, keep plugging. Hey, people, make sure you're taking in these athletic articles.
Odegaard.
But that pressing, I just think because Odegaard's a pretty boy, he doesn't get praised for it, man. If he was, I don't want to say anyone's ugly, but if he was ugly and he looked like a gargoyle, then people would say, yeah, he presses well, but he's blonde, blue eyes, looks like he could be a model. People don't give him credit for that. He's never going to be crazy great defensively, but I think he's more of a leader and he defends more than people give credit for. And I think he's more central. And I couldn't understand the talk. Obviously I wanted Maddison and them things, but people are moving like we signed a dud in Odegaard. I don't know if it's the fact that he was already at the club or whatever, and people didn't, you want new. But yeah, Odegaard's a quality signing. And you know what? Odegaard and Ben White is, for me, where I'm going to be the harshest on Arteta, because that's, for me, they're meant to be the 2 biggest signings we made in the summer and the 2 biggest leaders, man.
Yeah, I can't actually find it right now, which is upsetting because I actually really like that piece. Because
go find it. Someone will find that, man. Just type in his name and the Odegaard, it will come up on Netflix somewhere, man.
Actually, let me see. Odegaard, Smith Rowe, because it was about both of them.
Maddis hype. No goals, assists for 7 months in the league, man. I don't know what it is with Maddison. It's just one of those things. But you're right, S, in that if Arsenal was to sign, same way people said Arsenal never had ambition getting Maddison. If we was to have signed him, they would have sat there and said, oh, we've overpaid, we've bought a dud. What has Arteta done wrong? This, that, and the other. Now, I think Maddis is quality and he'll get back to it. But you're right on that, man.
So, start Odegaard, I think. And then Aubameyang, I just don't feel like he'd be dropped.
Yeah, I don't think he is.
And then I think it's weird with the wingers, because as I think it was Tino mentioned earlier, Saka probably looks more efficient off the right, and then you kind of get the question of what happens with Pepe. Then we know that he can play off the left now, and I actually really like him.
Could just switch him over to the left. I don't think Martinelli would come in because Arteta don't seem to feel him and Tierney together. Could shift Aubameyang out there.
Yeah, so I think more or less the same of what was fielded against Burnley, because again, as you mentioned earlier, there was so much chopping and changing in lineups, and I'd like to see some
stability,
some consistency now in a lineup, where you can actually say this is an Arsenal 11.
You're right on that, man.
And I think, it's the main things that need to change are just be much more precise in the final third in terms of final balls, but also take your chances, because there was still moments against Wimbledon. There, I know Smith Rowe scored, but there was a chance before that where ball falls from him. He can hit it first time, but he takes the touch and the chance is gone. And NKETIAH as well.
There was a scramble with Martinelli and that in the box where the keeper done a clanger as well.
Yeah, so they just need to be see it, do it, as we mentioned before. They need to stop thinking so much, I think.
Facts. Last question. Score prediction.
Optimistic 2-0 Arsenal, but Harry Kane plays for Tottenham, so
Yeah.
and
Boy.
so I think realistic. Do I still want to be optimistic with my realistic?
Gun to your head. Someone says they're gonna kill you. You need to pick a result.
2-1 Arsenal.
All right, cool. Do you know what? It's North London derby. I can't ever say Spurs winning, so I'm gonna say 2-1. Part of me thinks 3-2. Personally, I'm shook at Spurs, not because of anything. It's just they got smacked up against Palace. Shaky game last night. Shaky game against Chelsea. It would be against us for them to say, you know what, our season kind of starts again. I'll take a 1-0. We've been doing that. That's been kind to us. Why not?
Hopefully with a goal from open play this time.
Yeah. For me, I want to see it. For me, I'm not gonna lie, I want a clear-cut goal. Now, obviously, yesterday's an anomaly. We did our thing. It is what it is. But I just feel it took something spectacular from Odegaard to really score against Burnley, really, and an individual moment from Saka. Norwich, I mean, let's be real, that between Pepe and Aubameyang, shout out to them, but that goal is Sunday League-esque. We've just bundled it in. It's just got in it. So that's gonna run out. So I want to see something convincing, man. Kane hasn't scored in 4 or 5 games, so it wouldn't in the league, so it wouldn't surprise me. And like
penalty. Oh my god.
You know he's getting the pen. You know Son is diving. You know he's getting the pen. You know there's certain assurances. Let's just hope we've got a dodgy chef that gives Spurs a dodgy lasagna again, if I'm honest with you. You got anything to plug that's coming up? You must have something. I mean, you've plugged everything else. You must have something.
Yeah. I'm working on something, but I'll talk to you about it off air.
Calm.
Because I don't want to bring that out right now.
Nah. Keep stum then. Keep stum.
Other than that, I'm streaming on Twitch, playing Harry Potter, playing Football Manager.
Make sure you lot are following him on that. People.
Yeah, probably. I'll try and probably stream tomorrow.
I get on to him, people. There's no trying. He's promised you lot. He's dangled a carrot, man.
So yeah, other than that, nothing else.
All right, calm, man. I've appreciated having you lot here, man, and I've appreciated having you lot here. Obviously, be sure to give him a follow on Twitter, on Twitch, and on the rest of it. Links have all been dropped in here. Check out the Athletic articles. Hopefully, when we're next sat back here, it's more positivity, it's more young players, there's more things we can speak about, man. Hopefully, we just beat Spurs. For those of you lot that want more content from me, I'm live at 12:30 over on YouTube. So, yeah, man, we're gonna love you and leave you and get out of here, man. Peace.
Always just that active and defending.
I think it's like